So I've done a little bit of head scratching since my last video, and what I've actually come up with is the box that you can actually see there. I've just finished making that up. This is going to be the box that's actually going to help me actually cast the parts of the mask into one piece. It's a little bit different to what I've done when I was actually casting the Terminator up, because what I'm actually trying to do is to use these pattern pieces so they come together and actually form one solid piece of the completed mask that I can then work on and clean up from there. Previously, when I did the Terminator, if I had a large piece to work on, I may cut it up like this, but I cut it up in such a way that it would be actually rejoined as individual pieces. I did that with the intention of using the existing seams that were actually in the Terminator so that it could be assembled, for want of a better term, as it would be in the real world. In this instance, because I'm trying to get it done in one piece, I'm actually working pretty much to the upper limits of what my backyard workshop can achieve. In that this box, when it's fully packed up with sand, is going to be a two-person lift just to actually move it around. The other thing being is that I've had to actually buy more sand to accommodate the volume of the box, and based on the calculation of molten aluminium I'm able to make, the mask itself is going to be right at that upper limit of how much I can pour out as well. The box I've made up is made up in two halves, which is nothing unusual for this type of casting. A couple of things that I've done differently: the top and bottom box are two different sizes. That's to accommodate the curve in the mask. You can see here, whilst that's in its packing position as being top, this is actually going to be the bottom of the box, and there'll be a base that actually goes over that as well, that'll be screwed onto place once the sand's actually packed down. Because I've got such a large expanse of volume, it's unlikely with the method of sand casting that I'm using that the sand will be able to support its own weight. So I'm going to use that support board to actually stop the sand from collapsing under its own weight. The other thing I've done a bit differently is, because I have to use that base system, I'm going to have to lock everything into place and then flip it over, and I'll actually have to do that twice. You'll understand it more when I actually demonstrate the method of how it's actually being packed up. But to make sure that the mold doesn't separate whilst I'm doing that, I've just got some luggage locks that'll actually just lock the whole thing into place and stop the actual mold from separating. The last thing I did, which is fairly standard, is where the pattern pieces come together and mesh up. There's one small piece and another piece on the other side, which I've cut larger, so that when they key together, there's no way that I can make the mistake and key it backwards or anything like that. Again, because of the large volume of sand that I'm using, I've put screws around the outside edge of it just to add a little bit more grip. In a lot of these box type molds and everything else, you actually will find that these edges are actually contoured a little bit to ensure that the sand doesn't collapse out of the mold. But for what I'm doing, that should actually work quite well. As I said, I actually had to calculate how much sand I need for the project. That's my standard box that I've actually got there, and for the small stuff that I've been doing, that works quite well. That box is pretty much full, which would pretty much fill the box you've just looked at, but it's not going to allow enough for packing, and it's not going to allow enough for any surplus I might need. So I've bought an additional bag of sand, and I need to go and get some additional clay materials to finish off my sand recipe to make sure I've got enough to actually go around. Other stuff's been working fairly well this week. Boxes have kind of been the theme for this week, because I've also been working on the display box for the Predator Shuriken. I've pretty much got it painted up to the way I like. I've gone for like a black and red sort of half gloss, half matte sort of finish, which has actually come up fairly nice. I'm pretty happy with that. The other thing that's worked fairly well is the actual join, where it actually separates really nicely and comes back together fairly neatly. So I'm pretty pleased with the way that looks as well. The other thing I'll be doing now to actually finish this off is to actually add in those same sort of box clips that I used out the back on the other box. Once they're attached, I'm actually waiting on the lighting system to arrive for it. The idea behind it is it's going to have a stepped shadow element to it. It's really hard to see with what I'm trying to show you here at the moment, but basically there's another piece that actually goes inside here, which is raised off the back surface, and behind that is actually lighting that will actually cast a shadow light around the outside edge of it. The lighting I'm getting is basically the same stuff that I ordered for the Terminator base, because it's got the remote control for the different lighting and that sort of stuff. So that's pretty much the update for this time, guys. I'll show you more on this project and the other stuff I'm working on once the lights arrive for this. Hope you like this one. Talk to you next time.